Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang channel. Thanks for joining me once again. Today, I am going to dive on in and take a first look at For the People 25th Anniversary Edition from GMT Games. This is designed by the legendary Mark Herman, with art and graphic design provided by Roger B. McGowan, Kurt Miller, and Mark Simonich. The game is for 1 or 2 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 2 hours or more, depending on the scenario, because there are a variety of scenarios with this game, and it does carry an MSRP of $69. All that said, let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got For the People 25th Anniversary Edition. Do want to mention before we jump on in that the fine folks over at GMT Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's very important, you know that. All right, let me get the shrink wrap off here, and then we will take a look at the back of the box. For the People is a grand strategy, card-driven game of the American Civil War, covering the conflict from Texas to Pennsylvania, from the firing on Fort Sumter to the end at the Appomattox Courthouse. You take the role of either President Lincoln or President Davis and command the armies, promote and relieve generals, conduct amphibious assaults, dispatch cavalry raids, and even battle incompetency and political intrigue among members of your own cabinet. For the People includes a deck of strategy cards for conducting campaigns and incorporating the many events and personalities of the war. The Confederate player can build ironclads, naval mines, torpedoes, and submarines, conduct overseas purchases, and work toward foreign intervention. The Union player can build up their naval blockade and their ironclad fleets, fight draft riots, secure the border states, and issue the Emancipation Proclamation. Relive the history of this exciting time when our nation was torn asunder. I am really looking forward to this because I never had an opportunity to check out For the People before. It originally came out from Avalon Hill, actually towards the end of Avalon Hill's life as an independent company, and unfortunately never got a chance to check it out. And I have heard great things about For the People. It is one of the earliest of the card-driven board games. So it looks like we've got rules of play, we've got player aid tables, charts, mounted board, everything we'll take a peek at in just a little bit. But first, let's take a gander at the rule book. So it's going to clock in at about 50 pages. So we get an introduction, causes of the war, get a breakdown of counter examples, our glossary here. We get an extensive example of play. So it doesn't look like this has a playbook. So all that information is probably going to be right here in the rule book. So keep that in mind, that this probably does not have 45 pages of rules, because we've got designer notes, maybe some historical notes. We already see we've got the example here. So we've got setting up the game and showing the setup for the historical 1861 start points, talking about strategy cards. We do have operations points as well as events. As I had mentioned, I have not had an opportunity to ever play For the People, but I would take a guess. We probably have a situation here sort of along the lines of Twilight Struggle, where if you draw a card and it's got operations points and maybe an event for your opponent, if you use those operation points, then that event takes place. I do not know for sure, though. Keep in mind, this is a first look. So going through some of these rules here, got cavalry, generals, relieving generals, transferring a general, movement. Looks like we've got quite a few examples mixed in. So we had combined operations, amphibious assaults, We had Union ironclads. Here we've got Confederate ironclads. And the Huntley, that's the first Confederate submarine. So we've got battle. It says most histories of the Civil War place extraordinary emphasis on the large battles fought during the conflict. In actuality, it was the constantly evolving Union strategy of logistic warfare that eventually brought the South to its knees. So we can have retreat before battle, battle resolution, battle ratings, our die roll modifiers. We get an example of play of a battle, it looks like. Logistics and attrition, reinforcements, political warfare, strategic will. And then we get into our scenarios. So we've got the 1861 scenario, which we already saw the setup early in the rule book, 1862, 63, and 64. The campaign game, a play note for amphibious assaults, a railroad logistics variant as well. Then we get into our designer notes and an index at the back. It appears that these rules may have been kind of tweaked a little bit because it does show that it is a 2024 edition. Although, interestingly enough, the designer notes look like they were from the second edition of For the People. Thought that was kind of wild there. Okay, so that is the rules of play. So we've got charts and tables, combat results, battle DRMs, running the guns, Union and Confederate reinforcement summaries, strategic will summary, our sequence of play, and state control values. Got a couple of those, so one for each player. A strategy card list. Then we've got our new board. So this is showing us the 1861 scenario setup. So you can quickly jump right on into that. Let's get a little closer look here. For some reason, I think the mounted board actually has the new design for the game board, and then I think it's the previous design as well. I think it's dual-sided. I could be wrong. So here's the second of two counter sheets. So we have some control markers here. Then we have the Army steps here from 1 to 5, various different generals. It's like we've got fortifications. Also have some naval units there. And dual-sided. Oh, and these are cut pretty well because those two counters popped right on out. Okay, here's our mounted board. I'm going to move this box out of the way because it's kind of throwing a shadow out. I guess I was right. I think it does have the old board on one side and the new board on the other. So this is 4 panels by 2 panels. And this looks like this is the new side here. It's like that's the Union side of the board here because we've got a Union reinforcement summary, some other items it looks like probably of interest to the Union player. And then we get down to this section here for the Confederate displaced capital. That's what that box was. So we've got a map key. We've got our turn marker, strategic will track, movement summary, naval blockade level, amphibious assault modifier. So let's move on out west and take a look at this portion of the board. This looks really nice. Really nicely done. And of course, we're seeing the states Very cool. So let's take a peek at the back. So this is it's either the previous version or this is actually the original Avalon Hill board. Although I got to be honest, I don't see this being the Avalon Hill edition because some of the bits of flair almost that the board has doesn't necessarily look like what we would have seen from Avalon Hill. Very nice. So you can utilize whichever side you'd like. Personally, I like this new side or newer side. I don't know if that's the same board as with the previous GMT Games edition, but we do have that. I should also mention, if you had the previous edition of For the People, you can get the new mounted board and the box separately. So you don't have to repurchase the entire game. That is available for an MSRP of $30. All right. We also have our insert, which we usually see. We've got our deck of strategy cards, baggies for our counters, a couple of six-sided dice in Union Blue and Confederate Gray. And then we've got our cards. So let me get the old hobby knife out here. We will take a peek. We're not going to look at all the cards, but I do want to give you some examples of them. I'll tell you right now, I'll be busting this out with my best friend, Elliot Miller, because for one, he loves card-driven games. So he is my main opponent for games like Twilight Struggle and 1960, Making of the President. I almost said 1860, Making of the President. Don't. Okay. And of course, this is all just one deck, even though it's been broken up into 4 packets. So we've got Chickamauga, Fortified Lines. So as you can see, this is gray, showing that it is a Confederate card, whereas the Gettysburg Address, that has the blue circle, so that is indicating that this is the Union card. Once again, I would not be shocked that if it is an opponent's card, then you have to utilize the operations points. And if you do so, that event takes place. So here we've got the Mexican Supply Pipeline. This is a card usable by either of these sides here. War in the West, Crisis in the West, Brooklyn Navy Yard Conversions, USS Cairo hits mine and sinks. Let's take a look at a few more from these stacks here. So this is Governor Isham Harris, Tennessee Confederate. So remember, some of the unique personalities are also represented by cards in here. Confederate torpedoes, CSS Tennessee, Ship Island, Key West, Wilson's Creek, the early battle of the war where Union General Nathaniel Lyons was killed. Lincoln declares Southern blockade. Empty haversacks. 3 cigars. Oh, there you go. And there you go. Antietam. Red River Campaign. Now, that did not go well for the Union. Confederate Overseas Agent. Franz Siegel. Dixieland. Elite Units. Let's see what else we got in here. There we go. General Scott, the Anaconda Plan. Personal Advisor. Major Campaign. Minor Campaign. Looks like Much of this stack are going to be dual cards. Baltimore Revolts, strategy board, another minor campaign, and Shiloh. Very nice, very cool. Over 100 cards, I do believe, in this strategy deck. So we have got the insert. These strategy cards, looks like we're going to have to break that in half. Some baggies as well as our dice. We've got the mounted board. Once again, keep in mind, the mounted board and box are available separately if you've got other editions of For the People. We've got the 1.5 counter sheets. We've got our player aids, our rule book, and that is what we find when we take everything from For the People 25th Anniversary Edition outside the box. Of course, I will have a review of For the People 25th Anniversary Edition in the very near future. Very nice, very cool. I am excited. No joke. I am so pumped. When I saw this one on the P500, and then I saw that it had shipped out, I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then it just showed up yesterday. So sweet. Very, very nice. All right. That is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell. It'll not only let you know when I share videos such as this first look, it'll also inform you when my live stream, the Gaming Gang Dispatch, streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the YouTube channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for plenty of tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on the YouTube channel. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and until I see you next time, I certainly hope all of you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.